Hello, my name is Myra, and for today's video I actually want to go ahead and talk about my December reads and also my January TBR. Now I know I look like I'm going to the mountains, but it's currently 60 degrees here in California, which for us is pretty much freezing temperatures. And I know, I'm sure other places in the world, namely like the East Coast and stuff, is probably laughing at me if anyone from there is watching this video. But for us it's cold, so that's why I'm dressed the way that I am. But anyway, in December, I actually had, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. I read 8 books, which honestly is pretty good considering the holidays and New Year's and stuff like that. And I typically don't really read as much. So I focused mainly on a lot of novellas for the month of December. Now, the first book that I read was actually Unveil, which is the 3rd book in the Alchemy series. The Alchemy is basically a club for adults, if you know what I'm saying. And in this 3rd book, it actually follows Jen. She is the only female owner of this club, and it's her relationship with Anton, who happens to be one of the members of this club. Now, this is an age gap romance, but they are older. So she is 36 and he's 52, but he's basically described as like this, what do they call it? Silver fox. That's what he's described as. And they basically form a well, not really a relationship, but he's very attracted to her right off from the beginning when he's interviewing to become a potential member for this club. And she right away is like, I do not mess with other, you know, patrons of this club. Like, I'm one of the owners, so that is a big no-no for me. And he is persistent. I also really like this one because she's like this very strong heroine, but she's also very feminine and she's very smart, and he really appreciates that about her and also wants her to be able to be vulnerable and just kind of rely on someone. So I really like this. I rated it a 5-star. Definitely check it out. There's one more book coming out. I thought this was the last book, but there's a 4th book coming out for the 4th member. I believe it's coming out like summer of 2024. I'm not sure, but I'm very, very excited to read that one, because this 4th owner is basically a playboy, and he just goes around and doesn't do relationships, doesn't do anything like that. So it'll be interesting. It's always really fun to see like a big playboy finally settle down, at least for me. So that was what I started the month off of, and it was a strong start. Now, next I read 'Tis the Season for Revenge by Elizabeth Morgan. So this one, I had heard a lot of things about it and a lot of people really liked it. I personally rated it a 3-star. And this one, you have Abby and Damien. So Abby is dating this guy who is a complete jerk. Like, he is such a jerk. He's this high-powered lawyer, but he basically uses Abby. So she is his girlfriend, but he uses her as if she was his assistant and not really his girlfriend. Now, he's finally inviting her to this huge Halloween party that his office throws, and she's super excited to go, and she's dressed up in like, I think a bunny outfit or something like that. And he basically tells her, you know what, like, you're ridiculous, I can't take you seriously, like, this is over, we're over, I want nothing to do with you. And she's completely heartbroken. However, her friends are actually really happy about it because they basically had a really toxic relationship, but she had what people call rose-colored glasses, where she can't really see the toxicity in the relationship because she is in the relationship. And I actually found it a little bit triggering for me. Not triggering, but I guess relatable for me, because if you've ever been or have seen someone be in a toxic relationship, it is very hard to see the signs, or very hard to see that this person, the way that they're treating you, is not okay, and you should leave that situation. But it's really hard when you're in love and you are in it. And so that was really relatable, and I think the author actually did a really great job about that. But I rated it a 3-star because her revenge plan is to date his boss, and this boss basically likes her right off the bat, and it was really, really corny. She was calling him honey right off the bat, and that was just kind of weird. I don't know if it's just because I don't do pet names, that I just thought it was weird that on the first date she's already calling him honey. I don't know, it was really, really cheesy. And also, like, this stuff that's like happening, like the hero never really gets mad at the heroine, and then she's constantly comparing him and how good of a guy he is to like her ex. And I'm just like, I think you need to like not date anyone, actually. Like, I don't know, I feel like she didn't really develop and grow too much as a character. So that's why for me personally it was a 3-star read. But then things turned around for me, thankfully, and I read Wreck My Plans by Jillian Meadows. And this is Lena and Gavin. So Lena actually has pretty much always had like a crush on her brother's best friend. And Gavin has also had this crush on Lena since he met her when she was 19. Now, they are older now. I think right now she's 29, I want to say, and he's 39. So they do have a 10-year age difference. However, because she's 29 and he's 39, I feel like that's totally fine. Like they're both adults, so it's not weird. In this one, Lena ends up going home for the holidays and she is excited to see everybody, and they have all these traditions that they do for Christmas. And she, when she arrives, ends up finding out that Gavin is there, and she is absolutely livid because you don't know right off the bat, but basically Gavin 3 years back stopped spending Christmas with them, even though it had been an ongoing tradition for him to spend Christmas with her family, and he just disappeared. And she was really hurt by it, really upset, because they also were really good friends despite him being really like her brother's best friend. And so she's been really upset and kind of been distant with him, and she makes it known right off the bat that she's very upset that he's there. However, her family's like, listen, he's part of the family, like we pretty much adopted him into our family, so you need to be nice to him, and he's gonna be staying here, so suck it up, pretty much. Now, as time goes on and days go on and they start participating in all these holiday like things that they cross off for Christmas, she starts to like kind of make conversation with him, and they kind of get back into the routine of being friends. However, she still can't hide this attraction that she has for him, but he knows also that she's off limits because she's his brother's best, like little sister. And so he's kind of like, no, like I finally have this family that feels like my own family, and I can't risk it just to be in a relationship with her. But honestly, like Gavin is such a good guy. Like he was like complete like best book boyfriend I think that you can think of, because I was like, oh my gosh, this man is so considerate, and he's like tattooed, she's an artist, and I don't know, you know what, I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it was so sweet. And like it's so funny too, like because they're banter back and forth, and Lena definitely is very like out there, and she has no idea that he finds her attractive. She thinks like there's no way he could ever see me like that, but secretly he has been looking at her like that. So I don't know, it was this whole thing, but I really liked it. 5-star read for me. I definitely will be reading this again December of 2024. I think it's a must read for sure. Now, next I read A Cross Country Christmas by Courtney Walsh. This one actually was also a brother's best friend, but this one was really different. This was Lauren and Will's story. So she is gonna go home for the holidays, and they're both from the same small town because again, he's her brother's best friend and they met when they were kids. Now she needs basically a ride to get her over there. There's no flights, and because he was already gonna drive over there, her brother tells her, hey, you can ride with my friend, he's gonna drive over here anyway, so you might as well just take the road trip with him. And so she ends up accepting the invite very hesitantly, but along the way, like he's making all these stops and he wants to take all these pictures, and she doesn't know why he's so insistent in making all these stops. And honestly, she was getting on my nerves because she was complaining the whole time, and she was so mean to him for no reason. Now, you do later on find out that there was something that happened years ago that has caused her to be this way with him, but it still didn't excuse her behavior. Like she was pretty much being a brat, and like for her to be like an adult acting like, I don't know, she was pissing me off. She really was. And so I think that that's why I rated it 3-star. Now later on, like she does feel like a jerk, and like all these things come to light, but still, I don't know, it was too far like gone for me to really like her as a character. Now, next I read Season Schemings by Katie Bailey. So in this one you have Maddie and Sebastian. So this was actually a hockey romance, but it is centered around like Christmas time and like New Year's and like the holidays. So essentially in this story you have Maddie, who is this nutritionist, but the story starts off with her at this baking competition, like the ones that you see on TV, and she's in this baking competition with her boyfriend, and he literally dumps her on TV. Like they're in the middle of baking something for the competition, the contest that they're doing, and he ends up telling her, you know what, I can't do this anymore, like it's over. And she gets so mad that she dumps like icing, I think it is, on him. And of course it's all like on national TV. However, they filmed this like in the summertime, so no, like that episode hasn't aired yet. And in the meantime, she ends up, obviously her and her boyfriend break up, and she ends up finding this job working as like an assistant for one of the nutritionists on the team. And basically their job is to put the meals together for the hockey players, because obviously, because they're athletes, they're professional athletes, they have to be eating certain types of food, they have to be eating certain types of macros. And so that's part of her job, is to make it, like make the food and prep those meals. And it is something that she's really passionate about, because she's passionate in healthy eating, but healthy like desserts, and still having really good food, but just healthy. And so she gets a job, and she ends up meeting Sebastian, and Sebastian and her have like a very awkward meetup. But later on, they're kind of crossing paths here and there, because again, he's a hockey player and she works for the team. But one night in Vegas, or like the team ends up getting sent to Vegas to go play a game, and the head nutritionist ends up getting food poisoning, so she ends up having to go. And she's very happy, because basically what was going to happen is that if she didn't go on this trip, she was going to get stuck having Thanksgiving dinner with her ex's family, since her mom and like her parents are really good friends with his parents, and they have been for years. And so she's very happy that last minute there's a change of plans, and she now has to go on this trip. Now while she's there, she ends up drinking a lot, bumps into Sebastian, he's drinking a lot, and he just found out that he's having green card issues because he is Canadian. And she's telling him about her now ex-boyfriend in this episode that just aired during Thanksgiving, for, you know, where basically everyone's finding out that she got dumped on TV. And they decide, you know what, why don't we get married? I will go with you to this next dinner that you're gonna have to have with, where your ex-boyfriend's gonna be there, and you can help me with my green card status. And so they end up getting married, and they don't tell anyone. Everyone pretty much thinks that they've been secretly dating, that they eloped, and they're forced to pretend that this marriage is real. And so she has to move in, and so you have all this like forced proximity going on. And it was honestly a really fun read. Now I will tell you, because I didn't know this going on, like going into the book, but it is closed door, meaning there's nothing beyond like kissing and like the start of something more, but then all of a sudden you turn the page and like that's it. And it's so funny, because I didn't know this like going into the story. So then when like the page ended, I turned to the page, and it was like the next day, and I was like, wait, hold on, did I turn too many pages? And it was like, oh no, it's closed door. Now I don't mind it. However, this author did such a good job of like, because it was a slow burn, and they're getting to know each other, and there's all these things going on, there's all this tension, that you kind of want to read it, you kind of want to see it, and then you don't get it. And I was like, oh no, like now I have no idea. But it was still really, really fun. Apparently this author, Katie Bailey, focuses on doing clean romances. I don't know that she has some that are like not closed door, but this one was. So just know that going in, if it's something that's like a complete deal breaker, you should know. If you don't care about it, or if you prefer it, then here you go. Next, there was a book that came out that I had been waiting for, and it was like totally different from what I was reading, and it was a mafia romance, and this is When She Loves by Gabrielle Sands. Now this is book number 4 in the series, and this follows Cleo and Raphael. So if you read the previous book, basically Cleo, who is like the sassy, very independent sister of these like sisters that follow in the other books, she ends up getting stuck having to get married to this very powerful up-and-coming Don, right? Well, he's already a Don, but he's already going to become like even more powerful with this marriage. So she's forced into this marriage, but she's like, listen, just because I'm forced to marry this guy doesn't mean I'm going to make his life easy. It doesn't mean that I'm just gonna be a very obedient wife. Like, no, I'm gonna make his life a living hell. And so she, right away, as soon as they get married, she's like, I'm gonna like make his life miserable, and I'm gonna make sure that he regrets ever marrying me. However, it doesn't really work out for her, because the first thing that she does is she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go and spend like $1 million in one day. And so she goes, takes his credit card that of course he gave her, because being the wife, now she has obvious like access to his money. She goes on a crazy spending spree, and the accountant ends up calling Raphael, the hero, and says, hey, just so you know, your wife is like going crazy. Do you want me to like put like a cancellation on her card so that when she tries to make, you know, a purchase, it won't go through. And he's like, listen, whatever my wife wants, she gets. And so she's like frustrated because she's like, what the, like, I really wanted him to get mad and to, you know, basically like go off on me and say like, why are you doing this to me, just so like to again make his life miserable. And it turns out that he's like, no, if she wants it, she can have it. So she's like, great. Now throughout the book, like that's pretty much what's happening. She's just making his life impossible, but she is very, very attracted to him, and he's very attracted to her. And she also has all these like ideas of the type of guy that he's probably gonna be, but it turns out that he's actually a lot more open-minded. Like, yes, he does have certain rules and he has certain things that he doesn't want her to do for her own safety, because now that she is married to this really powerful man, it puts her at risk. So there's certain things that she can't just go and do without like security and stuff like that. But she sees like he's actually kind of flexible and he's a little bit more open-minded, and so little by little they do start to fall for each other. And it was just so cute. It was like the perfect ending to the story. I do know that Gabrielle Sanz is going to do like a spin-off series on one of the characters in the book, and I'm actually really excited because I really do like that character. So I don't know when those books are going to come out. I don't think she started writing them yet, but I will be there when those get released. Now I went back into my Christmas ones because again it was like closer to the Christmas time, and I ended up reading If You Give a Grump a Holiday Wish List by Anne Einerson, yeah. So this one is Jack and Presley. So Presley is Jack's assistant, the executive assistant, and she has been his assistant for years, basically because so many people kept quitting. It was really hard to be his assistant because Jack is very demanding and he's a very like overbearing type of boss. But Presley holds her own, and she's been dealing with him this whole time. Now Jack is actually pretty cold to Presley because he's been attracted to her since day one, and at this point he's been like basically dealing with this attraction to her for 3 years because she's been his assistant for 3 years. And she Presley has this list of like things to do over the holidays, and he's seen her list before, but on this particular holiday he's finally securing this really good deal. And so she tells him, or he tells her, you know what, I know that you had planned to go with your family, but I can't have you leave for the holidays. I need you to work on putting this deal together, like this presentation together and the paperwork and stuff, because we need to close out or like have everything ready for the new year. And she says, no, I told you a year ago that I needed this time off, so I'm gonna go. Like, I never take time off. I'm gonna go visit my family and have my holiday traditions. And so he says, okay, you know what, then I'll go with you. And she's like, what do you mean you're gonna go with me? Like, you can't just come with me with my family. He's like, sure I can. We can go. You can come in the morning to my hotel. We'll work on this deal for a few hours, and then you can go and do your, you know, activities with your family. And she's like, absolutely not. Like, that's not what's gonna happen. But he eventually ends up telling her, listen, I'm flying with you. Like, I'm flying with you. Like, there's no doubt or question about it. If you want to go, then I'm gonna go too. And so they end up flying over there. Now when they get to her family's house, Jack ends up basically telling everybody like, oh yeah, I'm Presley's boyfriend. And Presley's kind of like, no you're not. Like, not in front of her family, but she's like, what are you doing? And it's because her whole family basically hates her boss. They don't know who her boss is, but they all hate him because they know what he's like put her through, and like how demanding he is, and that he's made her work at times when it's like a holiday and stuff. And so they're all very like welcoming to him and say, oh wow, like, okay, we didn't know that, you know, she had a boyfriend, whatever. And so now, because they're boyfriend and girlfriend, her mom is like, okay, well then he needs to stay here. What do you mean he's gonna go to a hotel? He can't stay here. You guys can share a room. Like, we know you guys are adults, so it's okay if you guys are, you know, in the same room. It's fine, you're an adult. And now they're forced to, again, share a bed and share a room. And little by little, over this time that they have off, Presley starts to see a different side to Jack, and Jack starts to see a different side of Presley. And so that's where the romance goes from there. I did rate this of like 3.5 to like a 4-star. It was a good romance. I think it's just that he was already so like smitten by her that it was kind of like, I don't know, I kind of like to see a little bit more of like the buildup of when they both start to like each other. So that's really the only reason why I rated it what I did. And lastly, I read Tangled in Tinsel by Trilina Pucci. It's a novella. It's a why choose. There was a lot of smut, pretty much. Not really any plot. I rated a 3-star just because of like it was like smutty and it was like a fast read, but really there was not much to it. A lot of people were talking about it and I knew it was really smutty going into it. But I don't know, it just wasn't like too crazy. Like, well, not too crazy. It was crazy because there was a lot of stuff going on, because you have 4 heroes and 1 heroine, and all 4 of them with her over a few days when they get snowed in. So put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, that's pretty much what happens there. So yeah, those are pretty much all the books that I read in December. Again, not a lot of books, but then I also wanted to just briefly talk about my January TBR. I finally got this reading journal, and it's always fully booked. That's what it says on here, by Little Inklings Design. Yes, she's a Canadian artist who sells these. She has an Instagram, and I'll leave her website down below, but I freaking love this. I was so excited to get this and to use it this year, because honestly I suck at names and I suck at remembering things, and sometimes I forget what certain things were about, even though I really liked it. So for January, if you want to see like a full thing, like I will make a short and I'll post it on TikTok too, of like a flip through of my journal. But these are pretty much on my TBR for the year, or for January I should say. So I pretty much have the whole Throne of Glass series. I already started on the Assassin's Blade. I didn't know that there was like a reading order and that it's this whole debate. Please don't come after me if this is not the book that you read first. But after watching like I think 7 or 8 videos, I just decided to go in order, like publishing order. So I'm just gonna read this. Apparently this is also what Sarah J Maas recommends, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna read this, and if I end up regretting it later, I can reread it differently. But I am going to be doing the tandem read, because apparently there's 2 books and I can't remember which of the 2 it is that you're supposed to read at the same time. I will do that, but this one, I just started with this one first. I saw some people saying to read it 3rd, some people were saying to read it 4th. I just read it first, or I'm reading it first. But I pretty much have the whole Throne of Glass series on there. I also have Mile High by Liz Tomford. Heard great things. I know it's sports. I'm gonna read that. I'm also listening currently to Becoming by Michelle Obama. I was really curious to listen to it. I've heard a lot of great things about that one too. And then lastly, I have The Deal by Elle Kennedy. Now, I do want to start on the Crescent City series, but honestly, I don't know like how far I'm gonna get to go, because some of the, like this book is smaller, but some of the other books in the series for the Throne of Glass series are huge. So I'm like, you know what, ideally I hope I'm able to read the first 2 Crescent City books, so then I can read the last one that's coming out at the end of January, but we'll see if I get to that. So anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And if you want to stick around, feel free to subscribe and give this video a like if you found it entertaining, informational, or all of the above. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.